Hello and welcome to today's video where I want to shine a spotlight on Paul Polman, the former CEO of Unilever, who spent a decade growing that organization into a dual impact multinational corporation. So let's dive right into Paul Polman, who was born in 1956. He's a Dutch businessman and an author. He was the chief executive officer of Unilever, where he spent a decade, as I said, from 2009 to 2019, setting up and implementing a truly, truly ambitious vision, which I'm recording the video today for purposes of other CEOs to follow Paul Polman's leadership role. So he was also the co-author with Andrew Winston of a book called Net Positive. And that's another theme I want to get to throughout today. Net Positive, how courageous companies thrive by giving more than they take. So that's the concept. That's the concept that I want to plant the seed on for a lot of CEOs to follow Paul's leadership role at Unilever. And I'm going to talk about his ambition at Unilever to fully decouple the business growth. So business growth is not an initiative, the sole pursuit under this kind of positive impact. Business growth is the result of an overall environmental footprint and increased Unilever's positive social impact through something that he founded at Unilever as CEO called the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. So during his decade tenure there, he provided a return on Unilever's stock, okay, which was vastly superior to rivals and was more than double the FTSE, the Financial Times Stock Exchange, which is a listing of the 100 most highly capitalized blue chip stocks that were traded on the London Stock Exchange. So he more than doubled Unilever's financial performance in terms of share price than the other top 100 companies who performed on the FTSE. So that's the financial success that he achieved while leading Unilever. But I also want to talk about some of his other initiatives today. So back in 2019, at the end of his decade-long CEO run at Unilever, he and a gentleman by the name of Jeff Seabright, who was formerly Chief Sustainability Officer at Unilever, and some other folks co-founded a new organization called Imagine. Imagine's mission is to help businesses eradicate poverty and inequality and stem runaway climate change. In 2022, Imagine Consultancy was purchased by an organization called System IQ, an environmental consulting firm focused on system change, of which Polman is a board member and a major shareholder. He was also, and I want to talk about in terms of visionary leaders for other CEOs to emulate in terms of their leadership style. Polman was also an early proponent of something that I talk a lot about on my YouTube channel called net positive investing, kind of like B Corp certified status of companies under B Labs. And I had Barry Houlihan, who founded B Lab, on Chasing the Dream. So Polman's an early proponent of net positive investing, through which he invests in for-profit companies whose mission is to deliver, here we go, I want to emphasize this point for other CEOs, high impact and financial returns. He sits on the board of the founders board of TPG Rise, which is a $7 billion US social impact fund, alongside Bono from U2 and Jeff Skoll. He's also a founding co-chair of EQT Future, which is a €6 billion long-hold impact fund with Jacob Wallenberg. So this is the kind of stuff that Paul Polman, has pursued as far as values in his leadership career. And these are the kinds of values I hopefully want to share, make good business sense. So I want to go to the book he co-authored with Andrew Winston called Net Positive, How Courageous Companies Thrive by Giving More Than They Take. published back in 2021. So after he left Unilever as CEO. So the book, in the book, some of the reviews talk about Polman's book with sustainable business expert Andrew Winston argues that it's profitable to do business with the goal of making the world a better place. And if you know me, if you watch my other videos, this is the lesson learned that I want to share with CEOs. People like Seth Goldman, who founded Honest Tea, and Daniel Lubetsky, who founded Kind, and Chef Jose Andres with the World Central Kitchen. Even Emmanuel Faber, whose leadership at Danone, he initiated one of the most forward-thinking sustainable companies. This is the kind of mindset. You can achieve two things simultaneously. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. The first is having a really, really strong financial performance. So the pursuit of profit, but then not profit just solely to benefit shareholders, profit to fuel doing what we call triple bottom line, impact. Profit to benefit people, typically the people who work for you and people who live in the world with you as a business, and then positive impact on the planet. So this book is a really, really powerful read. It's a really, really powerful read. So net positive, if you can get it out of the library, please do. So former Unilever CEO Paul Polman explains how he's building a movement of CEOs to change how the world does business. And this is something else I want to share. A lot of visionary CEOs, they build or they grow or run an organization on the path of not just for profit kind of business enterprise, but very few of them give back to other CEOs a vision of what it means to actually accomplish that in the organizations that other CEOs run. So I want to go back to October 8th, 2021 on Just Capital and share some of the comments made by Paul Polman. So any discussion of stakeholder capitalism movement, again, the shift from shareholder value to stakeholder value, all the collections of different groups of people who interact with the organization, stakeholders, employees, clients, media, government agencies, other startups. That's his reputation, Paul Polman. Any discussion of stakeholder capitalism movement over the last several years has to include Paul Polman. And this is why I wanted to spotlight him in this video today. Over his decade-long tenure as CEO of Unilever, Polman spearheaded the London-based consumer giant Sustainable Living Plan, integrating sustainability and human rights into its global business strategy. Again, the pursuit of profit have a positive impact on people and the planet. He got rid of quarterly reporting and guidance after taking charge in 2009 and was extremely vocal about exchanging short-term financial performance outlook based on the theory of shareholder primacy for one that created more robust growth over the long term. His style won him critics as well as fans, but by the time he handed over this company in 2019 to Alan Jope, Polman had generated 290% shareholder return. That's doing it. That's proving that you can have significant positive financial performance and doing better things for the planet and people. 290% shareholder return expanded Unilever's global market share. In 2017, he also famously prevented a hostile takeover by Kraft Heinz, a corporation whose leadership was in ideological opposition to what Paul Polman had built and continues on as a legacy at Unilever. By the time he stepped down in January 2019, he had proven that a corporation is built on creating value across its stakeholders could both reduce its negative impact on the environment and society while creating higher returns for shareholders than competitors. So I mentioned the book, Net Positive, How Courageous Companies Thrive by Giving More Than They Take, came from his experience in a leadership role at CEO. Plus, he was Chief Information Officer at Nestle. Plus, he spent 27 years learning the industry at Procter & Gamble. So I want to kind of just talk about some of his thought process. So he's being interviewed by Just Capital, and they say, how did the idea for this Imagine organization come together? And how's it related to your book, and the movement called net positive. I keep getting back to net positive. Please know the lesson to take away for you CEOs and entrepreneurs and leaders. Net positive impact is to achieve profitability, be successful financially, and also have a positive triple bottom line impact on people and the planet. So Paul Polman says net impact and imagine are tied together. I discovered when I was CEO that the increasingly the needs to operate at a higher standard were apparent to create this more sustainable, equitable business model that he did at Unilever, for example. We're trying to do that with Unilever and made great progress, and we got recognized. But I also could see that there were limitations in the model itself. If you did something, competition might not join. You might not have the bandwidth to do things or enough trust in your partnerships. And ultimately, you need government involved to drive the broader system changes. Most CEOs know what needs to be done to have positive impact. The why is not actually that relevant anymore. The how, that's why I created this YouTube channel, is to share lessons for CEOs in how you can achieve this thing called positive impact and triple bottom line and sustainability. The why question is not actually pertinent. The how is really relevant, and that's where the issues are. And many CEOs struggle with that. So my co-founder, Valerie Keller, we created Imagine, which really focuses on a broader systemic change in business ideology. A theory of change is as much about leadership or human change as it is about organizational or broader systems change. Our theory of change is not the only answer. We think it's an important contribution to move fast on sustainable development goals, SDGs. That's a criteria that's being driven globally for more more ethical business behavior based on a positive planet impact, especially in the areas of climate change and inequality. Burning issues, both sides of the same coin. We thought, why don't we create a neutral platform called Imagine? The name actually came from Yoko Ono, who you may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, John Lennon fame, the song. And we put a critical mass of CEOs together by industry sector across the value chain. So you solve issues that are not just individual corporations with a go-it-alone mindset. You want a collective. You want a collaborative effort across industries and sectors to lead a new type of CEO, visionary leader, who's focused less on pure shareholder, profit maximization, and more on stakeholder, collective societal positive impact. And I've been saying that in all my videos and all my coverage of visionary CEOs. So when you have a 20 to 25% of a sector together of undoubtedly more responsible companies, then civil society and NGOs want to work with them, and governments start to listen to them. We looked at industries that had the highest impact on the SDGs from a negative point of view, sustainable development growth, that we could turn around to make them positive. The energy transition gets enough attention, and we are working then with a lot of other things. He's talking about energy as a sector. Fashion is a very destructive industry from biodiversity and labor standards. We look at food. The whole food system needs to be transformed. We look at tourists and travel, and we're starting to look increasingly at private equity as well. So that's what he's doing with this Imagine model. At the time of 2019 G7 Summit, we created the Fashion Pact, bringing together 80 companies in fashion. They work with Conservation International, and they're now the leading. So you kind of see the mindset. The mindset is a holistic, global transition to a more positive way of pursuing business, positive in terms of lasting positive impact on the planet. We've only got one of those, and we're in dire crisis mode of literally destroying all of its resources for future generations. And that's not a political statement on my part. There's no bias there, so please don't slam me in the comments. It's just the way it is. It's an objective truth. So I want to play the Unilever very quick video. 8 years of progress under the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan that was imagined designed, developed, implemented by Paul Polman during his decade CEO at Unilever. Okay, so that's Alan Jope, who took over as CEO of Unilever after Paul Polman departs. The notion of, as a strategy, purpose, driving profit. That's what I want to share as a possible model for visionary, transformational CEO leadership. And so imagine a better world, an interview with Paul Polman. So this is an institution called AIB World. He was recognized as the International Executive of the Year in 2023. So I want to go back to November 2023. So Paul Polman, former CEO of Unilever, business leader, climate and equality campaigner, and co-author of Net Positive, was selected as the 2023 AIB International Executive of the Year by the Fellows of the Academy of International Business. So that's AIB, Academy of International Business. So he sits down for an interview, Paul Polman, with AIB World after he received the International Executive of the Year award. He discussed with Lorraine Eden his efforts at Unilever and Imagine to address societal problems, the themes of net positive, and how business and academics can help create a better future. This is what I want to get to, again, by shining a spotlight through these videos on visionary leaders. Paul Polman, CEO, Unilever, 2009 to 2019. That's his run at Unilever and his book. He was selected as 2023 AIB International Executive of the Year award at their first meeting in 2023 in Warsaw, Poland. So he sits down for the award and he's being interviewed. And it says recipients typically have been individuals with a reputation of impeccable integrity and performance, track record admired by stakeholders and competitors alike. He was honored, he was awarded this AIB International Executive of the Year award for his unsurpassed leadership in the area of global business and sustainability. So, excuse me, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things he said in the interview. So, welcome to the International Executive of the Year award. I'm honored to receive the award and glad I can receive it in this beautiful city of Warsaw. I'd like to dedicate this award to the people who are not here because they still do not have a chance to make it past the age of 5. Okay, here we go. Here's a little bit about his, from an emotional standpoint, his value construct. The people who do not have access to food, who are excluded from education, which has benefited us so much. And unfortunately, that is still the majority of people in the world. I want this prize that you, the AIB, and your fellows give to great business leaders to go to even more determination to ensure that we do not leave anybody behind. That's the values. When you talk about a leader taking her or his or their values, their moral compass, their probity, the desire to do well in the world, and you literally infuse your organization with that mindset, that creates a powerful culture. And the many benefits of having an amazing brand reputational culture is really strong for organizations to be able to leverage. And I've talked about that in a lot of my videos. So could you tell us about the history behind why you wrote or co-authored Net Positive? So he says, Paul Polman, why did I and Andrew Winston co-authored the book, Net Positive? I didn't want to write a book. I always been critical of CEOs who write books because their motive was either to change history, meaning change the dynamic, change what was said in their favor, or to boast their image. Many CEOs justify what they do or did to basically please themselves, or unfortunately, a very narrow definition of success, which was their shareholders. This is, again, this is leadership in action. This is what I want you to take away. Most CEOs are aware of what we need to do now and why we need to do it, but CEOs struggle with the how. There it is again, that leaders know what to do. How do we do it? So that's why Andrew and I co-authored the book Net Positive, to show how courageous companies thrive by giving more than they take. We ask ourselves two questions. How can companies profit from solving the world's problems, not creating the world's problems? And the second question is, and is the world a better off because your company is in it? Yes or no? Very simple questions to me, but I'm not so sure how many CEOs that I am posing these questions to can really answer that. So this is the takeaway. This is the takeaway that I'd love leaders to think about. It's not mutually exclusive, the idea of can we be profitable? That's one option. Or can we do good in the world? Those are not mutually exclusive. Please, I'm begging, as a leader, think about merging them together into a positive impact organizational structure. So it's not for profit or not for profit. It's not just for profit. It's a new entity. It's a new model. That's the takeaway. So, co-founder and chair of Imagine. I want to go to Generation Unlimited. I want to read a little bit. Paul Polman, co-founder and chair of Imagine, is an activist corporation and foundation that promotes implementation of global goals through transformational leadership. So not only did he spend a decade doing this at Unilever to significant success, but he started an organization, he co-founded an organization called Imagine to teach that leadership style on positive impact, triple bottom line. Positive impact for profit, for people, and planet. Polman is also chair of the International Chamber of Commerce, the B Team, SAID Business School, and vice chair of the United Nations Global Compact. A leading proponent that business can and should be a force for good, he has been described by the Financial Times as a standout CEO of the past decade, whose role in helping to redefine the relationship between business and society has been path-breaking. He's a model to emulate. Again, going back to his decade, 2009 to 2019, he demonstrated that a long-term multi-stakeholder model, business model, goes hand in hand with excellent financial performance. During his tenure, Unilever was one of the best performing companies in its sector. For 10 years, it constantly achieved top and bottom line growth. Additionally, Paul Polman was a member of the UN Secretary General's high-level panel that developed the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and as an active SDG advocate, he continues to work with global organizations and across industry sectors to make the case for the 2030 development agenda. He's also donated money to a variety of important causes, and he was a founding member of a charity called the Kilimanjaro Blind Trust, which supports visually impaired children across Africa by unlocking literacy for life. So again, values. I want to talk about sustainability goals. This is what I wish more CEOs and more leadership teams in more forward-thinking organizations would map out, is goals associated with their long-term initiative. So this is, I didn't do anything special. I didn't create this or edit this. It's straight from Unilever.com, sustainability goals. So climate, nature, plastics, livelihood. And listen to some of the goals set forth by Unilever. a decent livelihood for people in our value chain, including by earning a living wage by 2030. Help 250,000 smallholder farmers in our supply chain access livelihood programs by 2026. Another goal of Unilever's for their sustainability goals, suppliers representing 50% of our procurement spend to sign the living wage promise by 2026. So they're signing a promise. That's part of doing business for good with Unilever. Help 2.5 million small to mid-sized enterprises in our retail value chain grow their business by 2026. This is where you put forth down in writing your vision and your mission. These are your core values. These are your goals that are associated with your core values. And this is how you do it. When I do coaching, this is how I tie values to goals. It's pretty straightforward and really powerful. So, leading in the next era of corporate sustainability. This is a path Unilever's gone down the road, and it's a path that was forged by Paul Polman. The challenge and the opportunity. This is Unilever. We've been driving an ambitious sustainability agenda for over 2 decades now, yet in the face of ever-growing economic, environmental, and social challenges, we are evolving our approach. See, the beauty of great leadership is once you set the vision and you go towards a different future, you create a roadmap. So even as you walk away, you're building your bench, an internal short list of future leaders to take over. You're building a bench of future leaders. So ringing the alarm and setting long-term ambitions isn't good enough anymore. Now's the time to focus on delivering impact by making sustainability progress integral to business performance. So there you go, purpose driving profit. We are determined to face into this reality to deliver consistent and competitive financial performance while transforming our business to achieve our sustainability goals. Few things done better with greater impact. Our growth action plan addresses these challenges head on. In the coming years, our focus will be 4 sustainability priorities. And so I already showed you those goals and those values. Climate. Our ambition is to deliver net zero emissions across our entire value chain. Nature. Our ambition is to deliver resilient and regenerative natural and agricultural ecosystems. And now I want to jump over to 2010 to 2020, the birth of Unilever's Sustainable Living Plan. That plan, conceptualized, implemented, designed, developed, implemented, and evaluated now was the brainchild of Paul Polman. So, in going back to 2010, when he started this Sustainable Living Plan, in the face of climate change, instability, and unprecedented economic and environmental uncertainty, Unilever recognizes a turning point in history. The launch of the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan outlines our strategy to strip apart growth from our environmental impact while increasing our positive societal impact. The focus here is not on profit. That's the key point. That's what I hope you take away from the video. Profit is not something you pursue in this model. Profit is a logical outcome of business done right. And when you line up your foundational pillars, your values, your ethics, and you ask yourself those questions, what is going to be the impact of our business being here? What positive impact? Then you can start to get to the root of some really long-term structural, amazing financial performance. So 2010, they launched the Sustainable Living Plan. Unilever launches the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, our blueprint for a sustainable business model. The Unilever Sustainable Living Plan sets out hundreds of targets and commitments which fall under 3 key goals. Help more than 1 billion people improve their health and well-being. 1 billion. To have, or to reduce by half, the environmental impact of the making and use of our products, and to enhance the livelihoods of thousands of people in our supply chain. Today, the plan continues to evolve, as it should, driving growth in our business while harnessing our reach and expertise to create and change the world, to create change in the world. So then I'm not going to read, but all the links to all of these resources are put in the description below. You can read, but I want to kind of spend a moment focusing on the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. Small actions, big difference. So bear with me 1 second. Just want to introduce Paul Polman when he was CEO. 2 billion times a day, somebody somewhere uses a Unilever brand. 2 billion times a day. Our products make small but important differences to the quality of people's everyday lives. We have ambitious plans to grow our company. In fact, we intend to double our sales. This growth will create jobs and income for all those whose livelihoods are linked to our success. Our employees, our suppliers, our customers, our investors, and hundreds of thousands of farmers around the world. In other words, stop thinking about maximizing shareholder value. That's 20th century. That's a past foregone era model. And now we focus on stakeholder value, the maximization, the optimization of total benefit across all groups of individuals who interact with Unilever. And they're doing that through sustainable growth. But growth at any cost is not viable. We have to develop new ways of doing business, which will increase positive social benefit arising from our activities, while at the same time reducing our environmental impact. We want to be a sustainable business in every sense of the word. We do not believe there is a conflict between sustainability and profitable growth. In fact, as I said before, they're not mutually exclusive. They fuel each other when done correctly. The daily act of making and selling consumer goods drives economic and social progress. There are billions of people around the world who deserve the better quality of life that everyday products like soap, shampoo, and tea can provide. The value, the moral imperative is creating a better future. And that's what they're focused on. That's what they're focused on. So just want to read one more thing from his initial statement of Unilever's Sustainable Living Plan from November 2010. Our vision is to create a better future in which people can improve their quality of life without increasing their environmental footprint. Our strategies increase our social impact by ensuring that our products meet the needs of people everywhere. Powerful, powerful statement. So as I wrap up this video, which is a little bit longer than I intended, my apologies, Paul Polman, yet another visionary leader who's thinking about the impact that businesses can have in the world in a different mindset. It's a 21st century transformational vision, and it's predicated not on maximizing profit, because that's a dying model now. That's not viable in the 21st century, not with all the other imperatives that we face societally, from a business standpoint, climate standpoint. That's not a viable path forward anymore. And there are people out there every day who are leading in this visionary mindset of positive impact, of pursuing profit as a way to fuel positive societal impact. Making the world a better place isn't some silly kind of naive business imperative, it's mandatory. So if you like the video, please like it. If you have any comments, be civil, but I'd love to know what you think about this, about Paul Polman, Unilever, the Sustainable Living Plan, and the ability or the desire to have a positive impact of business on the world in which we live in. And please, if you like this video and the others that are across my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I really appreciate the support it gives me, the motivation and support to continue doing these videos. Thank you.